Part 8 of exposing a Pisces energy trying to destiny swap with me entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent. This time, the medium seemed to be publicly sharing something a bit more personally involved. I don't want to come off like I'm personally invested in personally attacking them. I'm not particularly afraid of them. I just don't see anything good I really would gain from it. But I'm not going to refrain from cleansing my energy for the sake of their feelings or comfort either. The fact that you are all still trying to tear me down is beyond pathetic. It's desperate. So, obviously, they're addressing some broad audience of people they assume are attacking them, and they very well might not even know I exist, which is fine. I've never particularly been trying to tear them down or ruin their life. I want to take back what's rightfully mine, and I won't ever be bullied into believing that's beyond pathetic or desperate. It screams insecurities, envy, and a life so small that my name, for some reason, lives rent free in your head. Let's move past the projection claims because that won't go anywhere. If you seriously believe I'm insecure, envious, or have a small life, try me and see what happens, I guess. You're probably not and probably never will be a permanent chief of the Shadow Confederation. As for the medium specifically, I don't even know their real name, nor have I ever cared to even try to find out. Every move or attempt you guys make is just making me fueled to rise higher, shine brighter. I don't know who they're talking about, but I'm really just doing return to senders from when I've seen their stuff pops up in my energy. I don't even care enough about them to follow them or manually check their profiles or actually stalk them to any extent. And I certainly haven't ever cared to try to trap them into something or make some kind of attempted move attacking them with misplaced and or disproportional malicious intent. I really don't care whether they're fueled to rise higher and shine brighter or not as a result of what I'm doing. Proves that your attacks are just background noise to my success. That sounds like how I've been viewing every hater I've ever had in my life, long before I heard it from the medium. And I don't think it's a particularly powerful statement either. Eventually, enough background noise becomes a problem you have to deal with somehow, regardless. Keep throwing them stones so I can keep building this empire I'm doing. You must have found yourself in quite an odd circumstance to be heavily spiritual and spiritually protecting yourself by nearly begging for more attacks on you while complaining a bunch about being attacked. They shouldn't have been so angry if they enjoy it so much. You can't touch me, and the sad part is you know it. If they were referring to touching them intimately, I have no particular inclination to want to do so to them anyways. I never have, and I never will. So it's not like I'm upset at all that I can't touch them like that. If they were referring to in general, I wouldn't ever be frustrated that I can't directly attack someone I don't even know and don't have any actual personal experiences with whatsoever in general. And especially not when their own karma and potential strange sexual fetishes are doing it to themselves for me. I don't find any part of any of that to be sad to me personally either. That's why you're still trying. Okay, except I'm not depressed, and there's no real evidence to prove otherwise. So that interpretation objectively makes absolutely no sense if directed at me in that context. So I suppose we've now firmly established that I really shouldn't have gotten that message in my energy if there wasn't a Pisces energy egregiously divination abusing to try to destiny swap with me. Thanks for that. You can try and label me as this sex worker. Already admitted it. It's interesting how it was framed as if to be a false label right before they admitted they actually were and even might still be one. Although I don't particularly care either way, never did. I don't have any kind of weird biases towards sex workers. Being a sex worker doesn't suddenly inherently exempt you from having active ego. You can try and say I was a drug addict. I'm sober. They're bringing up and admitting multiple things about themselves that I didn't know, nor that I particularly care about either way. I don't have any weird biases towards drug addicts either. They too aren't suddenly inherently exempt from having active ego. You guys can try and trick me into buying more drugs like you just did, and it won't work because I'm stronger than that. One might argue it was their karma and wasn't actually anything anyone specifically, especially, was trying to achieve, potentially making them do. Regardless, I've never really cared whether or not they're stronger than to buy more drugs. Again, I want to get back what's mine. And I don't particularly believe any drugs to be part of that. And it's sickening that you guys can actually try to trick an ex addict into trying using drugs. You guys are sick in the head. You know, it's really sounding to me like the medium has a serious victim complex that's being exposed. Again, not that I particularly care, but if they're really sober and not having any real difficulty staying clean, it seems to me they shouldn't be as upset as they were that they felt tricked into trying using drugs. There's something wrong with every one of you. You guys were all dropped on your heads, or you guys are down there sniffing Huffer. And the personal attacks escalate even more. To my knowledge, I was never dropped on my head. I've also never sniffed Huffer. I also have never had any interest in trying either of those things out either. Normal people do not try and get an addict to reuse drugs, you selfish sons of bitches. First of all, I don't claim to be normal. I'd find it insulting if you considered me normal. I'm extraordinary. Second of all, don't underestimate how low normal people can go. In my experience, they're quite shitty. You guys are gross. Like, shame on every one of you. I, personally, have no insecurities around being considered gross by anyone. And I don't feel ashamed at all about that either. What, you guys all thought you were out of the clear because nobody came here? Just because they didn't come here doesn't mean I didn't go there. So really, they just exposed themselves to be the type to go seek out an experience they consider trying using drugs. I don't see why anyone, even remotely reasonable, would believe a supposedly ex-drug addict has never had or might not even still have such inclinations. Sounds to me like the effects of the medium helping with Destiny Swap efforts against me are finally really catching up to them. There was also something that sort of seemed like fat shaming. Although it might be heavily spirituality oriented rhetoric, not really sure what that's about. I don't really care so much either. Perhaps it's worth mentioning that I feel no particular attachment to cheeseburgers of any kind for any reason. There was also something where it seemed like they were exposing someone for indulging in their friend last year, apparently. I don't know what that's about either. I don't really care either. I have absolutely no fears whatsoever of anyone ever exposing me for indulging in anyone else. It's never been something I've felt any real reason to worry about at all.